The first thing I noticed when I walked into the office wasn't the silence. It was the smell. Cheap citrus cleaner, like someone had just tried to scrub something away. Then I saw them. 3 black garbage bags, sitting right there by the front desk, like leftover lunch trash. I blinked. My body ached from the red-eye bus ride. My throat was raw from breathing in recycled air for 16 hours. I had just flown back in from Arizona, then taken the bus up from the airport because my car was parked at the lot downtown. I still had my blazer on from the final meeting with Mr. Elwood. I'd closed that deal like my life depended on it, because it kinda did. Leanne was standing by the kitchen, arms crossed. David from legal was nearby, grinning like he was trying not to. A couple of the newer girls looked away when I met their eyes. I walked over, still dragging my suitcase, and pointed at the bags. "What is this?" Leanne stepped forward. "We've restructured. Your position has been absorbed." "What does that even mean?" My voice came out sharp. "I just landed the biggest deal this firm's had in 2 years. You saw the numbers." She didn't blink. "The firm is moving in a new direction. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Let me talk to Drew, this doesn't make sense. He signed off, and your keycard's already been deactivated. It wiped your profile last night." I stood there, stunned. "You couldn't even wait till I walked in the door?" Leanne turned like she was already bored. "It's done. You'll get the formal paperwork by email." David smiled. "Standard severance applies. No hard feelings, right?" I didn't respond. I crouched to check the bags. My planner, my pens, my backup chargers. Even the reusable mug my mom gave me. Everything smelled like Lysol. I grabbed the first bag, slung it over my shoulder, and started for the door. As I passed the security gate, I tapped my keycard. Red light. I tried again. Same. Leanne didn't even look up. So I reached over the counter and buzzed myself out. The bag on my shoulder slipped. My planner fell. Pages fanned out all over the marble floor. Nobody moved. I picked it up 1 page at a time. Then I walked out, shoulders straight. They all watched me through the glass, every single one of them. I loaded the bags into my back seat, slammed the trunk shut, turned toward the building, and smiled. I waved. Then I got in and drove off without looking back. I didn't even know where I was going. I just drove. 20 minutes down the interstate. No music, no calls. My hands were still tight on the wheel. The garbage bags rustled every time I took a turn too sharp. Somewhere around the exit for Sycamore, I pulled off and rolled into a BP station. The kind with flickering lights and sticky pumps. I parked by the side of the lot, shut off the engine, and just sat there. And that's when it hit me. My face went hot, and my chest locked up like my ribs were welded shut. The first sob came out like a cough, then another. I wasn't graceful. I was ugly, crying into the steering wheel, gasping like someone was holding my head underwater. I hadn't cried in years, not even when I buried my dad. I wiped my face with the inside of my sleeve, blinked up at the buzzing sign above the station, and thought, how the hell did I end up here? Let me back up. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment above my mom's diner in Elk Grove, Illinois. It was small, always smelled like onions, and the walls were so thin I could hear the fryers downstairs going off in my sleep. I started bussing tables at 12, worked every weekend. My mom couldn't afford college, so I worked double shifts and went to community college 2 towns over. Took the bus at 5 a.m., home by 10 p.m., every damn day for 2 years. After I got my associate's degree, I snagged an internship at Fairmont Properties. I showed up early, I color-coded files. I remembered client names. Within a year, they made me full-time. I built my own system, tracked every property, every buyer, every status change. I closed deals that senior reps couldn't even get callbacks on. And Leanne? She was the type who floated into closings in heels that cost more than my rent. Never did the legwork. Showed up last minute, smiled for the photos, then took credit for leading the team. I let it slide because I figured, fine, let her have the spotlight. I had the numbers, I had the trust of the clients. I pulled back onto the road and headed to my mom's place. She still lived above the diner. The same yellow linoleum floors, same scratchy couch. She hugged me the second I walked in. "I made iced tea," she said. "Or coffee. You look exhausted." "Tea's fine," I mumbled. My voice cracked. She brought it over in a big chipped mug that said, "Best Cook in Cook County." Sat next to me while I told her everything. Arizona, the bags, the key card, all of it. When I finished, she looked straight at me and said, "So they waited till you landed their biggest account and then kicked you out?" "Yep. Doesn't smell right." I nodded. "I've been thinking the same." She sipped her tea. "They got someone waiting to take your spot." I started to answer and then it clicked. 2 weeks ago, I'd stayed late at the office finishing the staging plan for the Elwood site. I ran out of toner, went looking, and walked past the side conference room. Leanne and David were inside. I wasn't eavesdropping, not on purpose, but I caught enough. "She's got the whole book mapped out," David had said, and Leanne replied, "Perfect. My niece is fresh out of Columbia, bright, young. She'll bounce back. Technically, we're downsizing." Back then, I thought they were talking about someone else, maybe Carla from marketing. Now I knew. They'd been planning this. The whole time I was working 70-hour weeks and pulling deals out of thin air, they were setting me up to be replaced by her niece. I sat there on the couch, fists clenched around the mug, and I wasn't sad anymore. I was lit up. All that crying I did in the gas station, done. Mom reached over and put her hand on my arm. "You're not done, baby. They think they threw you out. They don't know what's coming." She was right. They had no idea. That night, I pulled out my laptop and opened the email they sent me. Subject: Termination of employment, Fairmont Properties. No greeting. No thank you for your service. Just 3 cold paragraphs written like a cease and desist letter. Legal language, stiff as hell. "As per internal restructuring, your role has been dissolved effective immediately." The kicker? A paragraph about the non-compete clause, terms I agreed to upon hiring. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. I never signed a non-compete. They brought it up once during orientation, but the paperwork was missing, and no one followed up. I checked my records. Nothing. They were banking on me being too shaken to check. And then it hit me, hard. That line from Leanne. "She'll bounce back, and technically, we're downsizing." The smug way she said it. The way David laughed. It wasn't just personal. They were covering their tracks. My phone buzzed. I almost didn't pick up. It was a Phoenix number, and I was fried. But then I saw the name. Elwood, G. "Hello. Ms. Riley, Greg Elwood here." I sat up straighter. "Mr. Elwood, hi, how are you?" His voice was calm, but something was off. "I just got off the phone with Leanne. She mentioned you'd left the firm voluntarily, that you'd accepted a competing offer." I felt my stomach turn. "She said that?" "Yes, I found it surprising. Given we closed last Friday, you didn't mention anything." "Because I didn't leave voluntarily," I said. "They fired me the day I got back, right after we finalized your development." Silence. Then, "Fired?" "Garbage bags in the lobby," I said. "Keycard deactivated." "They said my role was absorbed." He didn't respond for a second. Then he let out a breath. "Well, that's interesting." "Yeah, I thought so too." "I don't like being misled," he said. I stayed quiet. He continued. "You understood our process better than anyone else in that office. The new contact they assigned hasn't returned my call in 2 days. The title company's already complaining about missing paperwork." I bit my lip. "What are you thinking?" "I'm in Chicago tomorrow. Let's meet, lunch, discuss options." "Absolutely." He gave me the time and place, some upscale place near River North. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there for a second. My heart was still racing, but this time not from anger. From something else, momentum. I opened a fresh document on my laptop, titled it Client Book, Personal Backup. Started typing, Elwood Group, Arizona, signed August 15th. Custom build-out, 48-unit plan, main contact. Greg Elwood, key details, concierge approval delay, HOA zoning language concerns, prefers weekly status recaps via email, prefers Tuesdays. Next, Valley Heights HOA, landscaping contract up for bid, likes that I coordinated directly with vendors, told me, first person who actually listens. I went line by line, one client after another, everything I remembered, conversations, deadlines, negotiation quirks, personalities. I didn't need their database. I'd built these relationships from scratch. I knew what mattered to each one of them. Around midnight, my mom peeked in. "You okay?" "Actually, yeah," I said, without looking up. Just working on something. She nodded, didn't ask questions. That's how she was. By 1 a.m., I had 10 pages of notes. I backed it up to the cloud, saved a copy on a flash drive, and hid it in my glove box. Just in case. They thought they'd erased me. They had no idea I never needed their system. The clients weren't theirs. They were mine. The next morning, I threw on the best blazer I had left. Navy, a little wrinkled from the back seat but still sharp, and drove to River North. Mr. Elwood had picked some swanky spot called the Ledger. White tablecloths, waiters in black aprons. Everyone in the place looked like they owned property. He was already seated, skimming a menu and sipping black coffee. When he saw me, he stood, shook my hand with both of his. "Good to see you, Ms. Riley." "You too. Thanks for meeting on such short notice." We sat. He didn't bother with small talk. "I'll be blunt," he said. "Implementation's already going sideways." I raised an eyebrow. "Already?" They handed me off to a 22-year-old. No experience. Didn't know what escrow meant. I had to walk her through what our contract even includes. I winced. "Oh, wow." He leaned forward. "We didn't sign with Fairmont for the firm. We signed because you were running point. You understood our build-out from every angle. The firm was just the vessel. You were the engine." Quick pause. He took another sip of coffee, then locked eyes with me. "What would it take for me to hire you directly?" As our implementation consultant, I blinked. "You mean work for you?" "Not on payroll. I want to retain you independently, represent our interests through the build, keep the timelines moving, manage the vendors, keep us out of legal potholes." My brain spun for a second. "I don't have a business set up." "Can you get one?" "I can." He nodded once. "Do that. Bill us as a consultant. Full rate. You'll invoice weekly. You pick your hours. We just want your brain in the room." "Give me a day," I said. "Take 2, he replied. "But not more than that." We shook on it. No drama, no pitch deck. Just 2 people who knew what they wanted. After I left, I got in the car and called Vince. He was one of my oldest friends. Real estate law, same community college, same struggle. Now he ran a boutique firm in Naperville. "You are legally good," he said after I explained everything. "They never executed that non-compete. And even if they try to argue intent, you're not stealing business. You're just continuing work for someone who wants you. They can't touch that." "Even if they try?" "Let them try," he said. "You're clean. Get an LLC set up, and I'll help with the contracts." That night, I sat on the floor of my mom's tiny living room with my laptop, a mug of burnt diner coffee, and a sticky note that said, "Name?" I typed, "Riley Property Advisory." Too stiff. "Elevate Consulting." Too vague. Then I remembered what my old mentor once said about my work style. "You're the hinge. You make all the parts move." I typed, "Hinge Point Consulting." That was it. By 10 p.m., I had a business license filed, a free bank account set up, and a basic website live with my name, a short bio, and a contact form. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I didn't even stop to feel nervous. I just kept going. Momentum had its own kind of energy. Fairmont had kicked me to the curb like I was disposable. Now I had their biggest client on my side. And I wasn't just back in the game. I was building my own. 3 days later, I walked through the same glass doors where they dumped my career in trash bags. Only this time, I didn't tap a keycard. The receptionist buzzed me in. "Elwood kickoff," I said, holding up the meeting invite from Greg. "I'm representing his team." The look on her face, confused, polite panic, was the first small win of the day. I stepped into the main hallway. Familiar tile, same lobby art. People glanced up from their desks and stared like they'd seen a ghost. One guy actually dropped his coffee. I kept walking. Conference room C, 10 a.m. sharp. Greg was already seated at the table with his project manager and 2 vendors. Then the Fairmont team shuffled in. David, arms crossed. Leanne in a stiff pantsuit, trying too hard. And the new girl, her name tag crooked, carrying a legal pad and nothing else. Greg looked over at me. "Ah, there she is. Morning, Riley. Ready to roll?" "Always," I said, sliding into my chair and opening my binder. Leanne's smile barely held. "Didn't realize you'd be attending." Greg didn't even look at her. "She's managing implementation. We've retained her independently." The room went quiet. You could feel the shift. The meeting started, and it didn't take long for the cracks to show. Greg's PM asked about the vendor contract timelines. The new girl, Allison, I think, flipped through her empty notepad. I think legal is reviewing those, David jumped in. They're in process. Greg narrowed his eyes. We finalized those with Riley 3 weeks ago. Are they being redone? Leanne cut in. We're just doing due diligence. Some terms need clarification. Which terms? I asked calmly. She blinked. Excuse me? Which terms specifically are unclear? Maybe I can help clarify. I have the originals. I slid a copy of the vendor timeline across the table. Leanne didn't touch it. David didn't say a word. The rest of the meeting went just like that. Allison didn't know zoning stages. She guessed on approval dates. Every time she stumbled, I asked a clean professional question to move us back on track. No attitude, just clean execution. When we broke for 10 minutes, I stepped out into the hall. That's when I heard the sharp heels behind me. Leanne. She came right up beside me, low voice, eyes tight. Are you trying to sabotage me? I tilted my head. What? This is deliberate, she hissed. Showing up here, undercutting my team, making us look incompetent. I didn't even blink. There's no sabotage. I'm doing my job. The one you said I was too replaceable for. She clenched her jaw. This is unprofessional. Tell that to your niece, I said. She's drowning and you threw her into 10 feet of water. You need to back off. What I need is to make sure your client doesn't lose 6 figures because your office can't deliver on the deal I closed. Her mouth opened like she was about to fire back, but nothing came out. I took a step closer. Let me make something clear. This isn't personal. It's just business, which is exactly how you treated me, right? She didn't answer, just stood there, frozen. Break's over, I said, and walked back in. Her footsteps didn't follow. Back at the table, Greg nodded at me. Ready to finish strong. Let's do it, I said, flipping the page in my binder. And that was the moment I knew I had the power now. After the kickoff meeting, I went right back to work. Not in their office, never again. I set up shop at the little corner table in my mom's diner during slow hours. Banged out status reports, coordinated vendors, updated Greg's team twice a week. No titles, no manager, just results. 3 days after that meeting, I got a message on LinkedIn from Carla, one of the project coordinators I used to sit near. Hey, quick question. Do you remember where the HOA templates are saved? No one here seems to know which version's final. I waited a beat. Just helping out Greg's team. Sorry I can't help with Fairmont stuff anymore. 2 hours later, a text from someone in accounting. Are you the one who used to handle zoning workflows? Leanne told me to backdate something, and I'm not comfortable with it. They were unraveling. I didn't gloat, not out loud. But I wasn't shocked either. Clients started pinging me too. Nothing public, just quiet little messages. Hey Riley, this is Melanie from Valley Heights. We were just wondering if you could remind us which landscaper you liked for high drain areas. Hi Riley, we're having trouble getting Fairmont to confirm vendor insurance requirements. Could you point us in the right direction? Off the record, of course. I gave them what I could, just the facts. Nothing that'd trigger a cease and desist. And nothing they couldn't have figured out themselves. If the firm hadn't burned the bridge to the only person who knew how things ran. Then one afternoon, I got a text that made me stop mid-sentence. The new girl just quit. Walked out midday. 5 minutes later, Leanne's having a meltdown. Said you set this up. I stared at the screen for a while. Not gonna lie, I felt a jolt of satisfaction. But then came the second wave. Guilt. Was I enjoying this too much? I wasn't trying to sabotage her. I hadn't called anyone. I didn't post about the firing. I didn't leak anything, but still, it felt too clean. Like karma was working overtime with me as the face of it. I told myself what I knew was true. I hadn't lifted a finger to tear her down. If they needed me now, it was because I was the glue. I built those systems. I built the trust. Leanne never respected the process. She just wore the suit. I didn't. I worked it. So I stayed focused. Greg introduced me to another developer group, Townhouses in Tempe. I took the call, gave them honest feedback, and 2 days later, signed a short-term advisory contract. Then came a referral from one of the HOA boards I used to manage. By the end of the second week, I had 4 clients. Small ones, but steady. I used the cash from the Elwood contract to upgrade my website, hire a freelance designer, and open a P.O. box that didn't say above a diner on the return address. I bought business cards, updated my LinkedIn, and filed the paperwork to convert my LLC to an S-Corp. Every move was calculated. Every step was mine. One night, I got home from a vendor site visit and found my mom sitting at the kitchen table with an old paper planner in front of her. "What's that?" She held it up. "Your first deal log. You wrote everything in here, color-coded." I saved it. I laughed. That was the only system I trusted back then. She smiled. "Still is." I sat down next to her, flipped through the pages, and saw the beginning of all of it. Messy notes, scribbled contacts, check marks in red ink. This wasn't luck. This was 10 years of sweat. And it was finally paying off. I pulled into Fairmont's parking lot 10 minutes early, same as always. Elwood's team had requested a short sync on vendor rollout. Nothing major. I came prepped, organized, calm. Inside, the receptionist glanced up with this weird half-smile, like she knew something but wasn't sure how I'd take it. That was my first red flag. Second red flag was waiting outside the conference room. Some guy in a charcoal suit, early 40s, thinning hair, holding a manila folder like it was a weapon. He wasn't part of Elwood's team. I'd never seen him before. He stepped in front of me as I reached the door. "Ms. Riley, I'm Joseph Ryland, legal counsel for Fairmont Properties." I looked at him. "Okay. We've reviewed your recent activity and found cause for concern regarding your employment agreement, specifically the non-compete you signed when hired." I almost laughed. "I didn't sign one," I said flat out. He opened the folder. "Our records show that—" "No," I cut him off. "Your records might say I did, but I didn't. Ask Leanne." The form was missing during onboarding. I never saw it again. He blinked, hesitated. "Regardless, your actions constitute potential misappropriation of proprietary client systems." "Hold that thought," I said, pulling out my tablet. "Let me show you something." I pulled up my archive folder, clicked, opened the email. "This is from Leanne," I said, spinning the screen so he could see. Dated February 3rd. Subject line: Personal CRM Setup. She writes, and I quote, "Use whatever system you need. As long as you keep it updated, I trust your process." I used my own software, my own login, my own methods. Nothing proprietary, all from scratch. He shifted. "Even so." "There's more," I said, tapping to the next one. March 29th. "Thanks for tracking the zoning contacts on your own. That's why you're a star." He didn't say anything. From inside the room, I heard Greg's voice. "Everything okay out there?" I leaned in slightly. "Let me be crystal clear. I don't owe this firm anything. You let me go. You dumped my belongings in trash bags. You told clients I left voluntarily. And now that your biggest account's trusting me instead of your broken team, you want to backpedal and pretend I did something wrong." Ryland opened his mouth, then shut it. Greg stepped into the hallway. "Problem?" "Nope," I said. "We were just wrapping up." Ryland turned to Greg. "We may need to pause today's meeting. This matter requires internal resolution." Greg looked at him like he was a waiter who'd spilled soup on his lap. "No," he said. "We're not pausing anything. Riley is our consultant. If she goes, we walk. And I'll be sure every one of our partners knows why." Ryland cleared his throat, backed off, and mumbled something about reviewing the file. Then he disappeared down the hall like smoke fading from a fire. Greg looked at me. "You good?" "Better than ever," I said. We walked into the room. I handed out updated vendor timelines, answered 3 client questions before Leanne even showed up, and finished the meeting with a summary of next week's inspection milestones. When it wrapped, I didn't linger. I packed my binder, nodded once at Greg, and walked right past Leanne, who'd been sitting there the whole time pretending she didn't hear a damn thing. I didn't smile, didn't gloat. I just left the building like it belonged to me now. 2 days after the legal stunt, I was in line at the post office dropping off vendor contracts when my phone rang. Blocked number, I let it go to voicemail. Less than a minute later, it buzzed again. This time I picked up. "This is Riley. Ms. Riley, this is Judith North. I chair the board at Fairmont Properties. Do you have time to meet this week?" I didn't say anything for a second. Then, "What's the topic?" "I believe we have some common interests, and some information you may want to see. You're welcome to bring representation. Fine, I said. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Vince met me in the lobby wearing a suit so sharp it looked like it could slice drywall. He carried a small leather binder and a grin. Think they're finally ready to admit they screwed the wrong person, he asked. I think they're desperate, I said. Let's see how it plays. We were escorted upstairs by a woman I'd never seen before, HR maybe, but with a stiff boardroom vibe. She knocked once, opened the double doors, and waved us in. Judith sat at the head of the table. 2 other board members were on her left. On her right, a legal rep. Not Rylan, someone new. No Leanne, no David. Judith stood to shake our hands. Thanks for coming. We'll keep this efficient. She opened a slim folder and started sliding documents across the table. Vince and I leaned in. Internal audit logs, she said. We reviewed the last 8 months. These show misreporting of client data. Statuses moved ahead without confirmation. Budget approvals faked using copied signatures. Multiple deals marked as team closed when they were clearly closed by you alone. I didn't say anything. She pushed another page forward. This is a complaint filed by an assistant who quit last month. She reports hostile treatment from Leanne, including racial bias, exclusion from key meetings, and retaliation when she spoke up. Then another. Here's an email where Leanne directed IT to backdate a system log. That triggered the compliance review. Vince raised an eyebrow and flipped the page. So what exactly do you want from my client? Judith folded her hands. We have 2 proposals. I sat up straighter. Option 1, she said. We reinstate you at executive level, Chief Implementation Officer, higher salary, autonomy. You report directly to the board. Option 2? We acquire HingePoint Consulting in full. Generous buyout. You stay on for a 3-year exclusive as Chief Implementation Officer. No interference. Full support staff. I kept my face still, but my heart was pounding. I'll think about it, I said. Both options. Vince nodded, closing the folder. We'll get back to you. On the way out, he waited until the elevator doors closed before speaking. They're scared, he said. They're bleeding clients and they know it. You've got them by the throat. I didn't answer, not yet. For the next 3 days, I did nothing. I didn't call. I didn't negotiate. I worked. Greg's team was in final inspections. The Tempe contract expanded. A new lead came in through a HOA president I helped 3 years ago. Then the email came in. Subject, account departure, Beaumont Development. We regret to inform you that we will be transitioning away from Fairmont Properties. Effective immediately. I stared at it for a long second. Beaumont was their 2nd largest account. That was the moment. I picked up my phone and called Vince. It's option 2, I said. 3-year exclusive, he asked. Full buyout, with my terms. He laughed. Told you they were desperate. I smiled. Let's get it in writing. The official title on my new badge read, Chief Implementation Officer. They made the role for me. Board approved, high salary, straight line reporting to Judith herself. I got a corner office, a private calendar, and a direct line to every department lead. But the best part? I didn't have to ask permission anymore. I was the permission. So when I got word that Leanne scheduled a crisis meeting in Conference Room A to address client instability, I didn't knock. I walked in mid-sentence. She was standing at the whiteboard, talking in circles about realignment and front-facing strategies. Her marker froze mid-air when she saw me. Sorry I'm late, I said, casually dropping a folder on the table. Had a one-on-one with Judith. The room went silent. You could feel the confusion rolling off the junior reps. Carla was there. David, too, hunched in the back like he was hoping no one noticed him. I flipped open the folder. Effective immediately, all client retention operations will now run through the Department of Client Experience. That's me. Leanne blinked like I'd slapped her. That's not, hold on, she started. That's my division. Not anymore, I said. Per board directive, retention oversight has been reassigned. David stood. Why wasn't legal looped in? I looked at him. You were. See page 3. He grabbed the printout, scanned it, then slumped back into his chair without another word. Leanne stepped forward. You're not even on the org chart yet. This is out of line. I stared straight at her. I'm the org chart now, she tried again. You don't get to come in here and dismantle my team, I smiled. I'm not dismantling anything, just redistributing. Carla and Greg will now report directly to me. Marketing will sync through my department for all client-facing materials. You'll retain oversight of outbound acquisition, specifically cold calling and junior rep onboarding. Her jaw clenched. You're sidelining me. No, I said calmly. I'm benching you. Everyone stared. I stepped closer so only she could hear. Don't worry, you're not fired. You're just benched. Her eyes narrowed. You're enjoying this. Not as much as you think, I said, but enough. She looked like she wanted to explode. Instead, she gripped the marker in her hand so hard it snapped in half. Blue ink spilled down her wrist. Nobody moved to help her. I turned to the group. I'll have updated reporting lines out by end of day. Until then, direct all client concerns to my office. Thank you. I gathered my folder, nodded once, and walked out without waiting for questions. Behind me, I heard chairs scrape awkwardly as people shuffled. No one called after me. No one defended her. Outside, I stepped into my new office. Glass walls, updated desk, fresh nameplate. I closed the door, sat down, and exhaled. For the first time in weeks, what she felt in that room was exactly what I felt when I found my life in garbage bags. That cold, silent humiliation, that deep, sinking sting. Only difference? She earned it. 6 months later, I didn't need to introduce myself in meetings anymore. People already knew who I was. Client retention was sitting at 96%, highest in company history. Escalations dropped by half. Every project had timelines, playbooks, and backups built in. Nobody had to guess who was running the show. My door had a new plaque now. Chief of Client Operations. 3rd promotion since I came back. Judith delivered the news herself, said I'd earned it. Clients stay because of you, she told me. Everything else is noise. On my desk sat a potted succulent in a cream ceramic pot. Small, thick green leaves. Came with a note in Mom's handwriting. Keep growing. I kept it right next to my screen. Watered it every Monday morning. Some days, I passed Leanne in the hallway. She didn't strut anymore, just walked fast. Eyes low, usually holding a tablet she didn't look at. She always gave a quick nod, forced smile, then kept moving. Once she held the elevator door for me, told me, "Congratulations," in a voice too even to be sincere. I thanked her and didn't say anything else. She was still on payroll, doing some vague strategy support work. No team, no leadership. Just a title with no real function. Her power was gone and everyone knew it. But that wasn't my win. Not really. My revenge wasn't firing her. I never had to. It was walking back into the building as the person she never expected me to be. Untouchable, respected, undeniable. I used to think success meant titles, corner offices, client dinners, and fancy restaurants. Now I knew better. Success was being able to look around and say, every inch of this, I built it. They tried to erase me, and I came back stronger. That was the real win. And I wasn't done yet.